Good morning, this is Tom at the Tractor Rescue Ranch. I am going to try something a little bit new this morning. I hit on the YouTube stuff, I hit 250,000 views today, and that just blows me away. I know I'm still tiny compared to a lot of YouTubes, but that number is so big, I just have a hard time believing that there's been that much interest in what I'm doing. I've had a lot of thoughts lately about how to improve the YouTube channel. I'm off on a little morning hike this morning. If you guys have been following me very long, you'll know that I'm not a really big storyteller. And I know that stories are a big thing of what people like to hear. It's one of the things that makes the YouTube channels very interesting. So, just thought I might do a little hiking, show you guys a little bit of this beautiful country I live in, and maybe tell a story or two while we're at it. I'm at a trailhead 3 miles from the house. This is Grew Canyon. Gives us access to the public land. I spend a lot of time up here. It is May 9th, about 6 a.m. I didn't look at the temperature this morning, but there was frost on the windows, so I'm thinking it's probably in the upper 20s. Well, I discovered a major flaw in my plans with this experiment. This trail, from the trailhead to the top, was just over 2,000 feet of elevation gain, and it does that in just over 2 miles. So I'm having a hard time telling stories being out of breath. So I think I'll try to tell my story on the way down. This trail's got a pretty good, this canyon's got a pretty good stream of water coming out of it. And I've seen that water flowing just like that even in the drought year. Never dries up, at least to my experience of being up here in the several years I've been hiking this canyon. I've never seen it dry up. The water comes out of the ground right up here, probably about halfway to the top, and then it's dry from this point on. Right in here is where the water starts. How's that for a pretty little spring? In this country, I've never worried much about filtering water when you can get it from a source where it's coming right out of the mountain. My whole life I've never filtered. I carry a filter with me in case I end up needing to get water out of a river or a pond. But for the most part, it's pretty easy to keep track of where the springs are and just drink directly from them. Okay, I've caught my breath and I'm headed back down. I went almost 1.5 miles up here. I don't know the elevation. I'll look at the elevation when I get off the mountain. Anyway, the thoughts that I've had on my mind recently came from one of my viewers when I was doing that old John Deere 80 or 820 video. I commented that these old tractors had a lot of heart and soul, and that viewer asked what I meant by heart, and I responded to his comment, but I thought I might do a video here. I don't know if this phrase is just something that I was familiar with and it wasn't that common. Leave a message, a comment if you've heard it before. But when I was a teenager, I grew up with horses. I don't keep them anymore because they're just too expensive to keep with my retirement budget. Anyway, we had a horse in my teenage years, and I kept him with me into my early married years. His name was Flying, and he was a super athlete. He was a purebred American saddle horse, and just had so much get up and go in him. You could ride him all day in the mountains and put him up in the evening and he wouldn't even act like he was tired. And the phrase was, he had a lot of heart, which meant that he had a lot of get up and go. I think that phrase meant it kind of a super athlete and in good shape. Anyway, I'm sure there's a lot of people from the cities that have never heard that phrase before, but I think it's a common phrase for that. So what I meant with that is that old John Deere just keeps working and working. Doesn't ever get tired. It just keeps going. It's got a lot of get up and go. So that's the heart part of that comment that I made of heart and soul. And the soul part of that, I was talking to the guy that owns that old tractor, and he said that I think he said he got that tractor out of Canada. And I think it was 67 years old, if I remember right. It's on the other video. And so that tractor probably came from the wheat fields up there in Canada back in the day when an individual farmer couldn't farm thousands upon thousands of acres. And the soul part of that is them old tractors fed this country and the other countries that they're in. They're part of the modern civilization. You couldn't feed a population like we have. And it just amazes me to think back on those old engineers building those tractors, how they advanced civilization forward. Just amazes me. And then all of these old tractors also, they've all got their own little quirks. My equipment's all wore out, and you've got to be pretty mechanically inclined to run this old equipment and to keep it running. And so it's all got their own little quirks that you learn how to do. Some tractors you got to do a certain little thing to get them started, and other little tractors. To keep them running, you got to do certain little things, and so that's part of their character. I really enjoy listening to these old tractors. Their sounds are unique. Everybody knows the old Papa Johns. You can understand their sounds. They're very unique. Another real unique sound is the old Model H's and M's in the International. You can recognize their sound as well. Anyway, I just wanted to pass that on to you and hope that you enjoyed this little story and explanation of some of the phrases that I said. And I sure appreciate everybody's interest. Like I said earlier, it just blows me away. I've had 250,000 views now. That was never my intent, and to do that, and it just really surprises me that people think that much to watch that much. Anyway, also give me some feedback, if you would, on this video. If you want to see more of stuff like this. Hiking is a big part of my life. I love to get out in the mountains and everything. I don't want to turn this channel into the hiking channel. There's a few thru hikers that I enjoy watching on YouTube, and they're putting out some really good content, and I don't want this to turn into the hiking channel, but I would like to do a few videos like this. If you can leave me a comment to let me know if you want more of this kind of stuff or you'd rather not. Anyway, I'll go ahead and wrap it up here, and thanks for watching.